picking out which spaces to be in. Like, that is part of the great joy and delight of getting to be in this paradise that is this earth. Like, getting to choose which spaces feel like greater freedom, which spaces feel like greater relaxation. You know, like, I was listening to this book, The Way of Integrity by Martha Beck, and it's very good. Would highly recommend. I'm not all the way through it yet. I'm only like a few chapters in, but whoa. And I watched this interview with her. It's on this week's live stream prep playlist, by the way. I watched this interview with her where they were talking about something that's in the end of the book, which is the power of 1 degree turns, and how there is, like, big changes fail. Like, that when you're trying to change too fast, like too much too fast, it's just too big to make that leap, because like here on earth, like, there is such an incremental process to evolution. It happens step by step by step, like millimeter by millimeter, teeny tiny little incremental steps. And so the disconnect can happen though when your brain is like, you know, I want to lose 100 pounds, and your body is like, there only is ever going to be like the food that I'm choosing to put in my mouth right this minute, or the food that I'm not choosing to put in my mouth right this minute. Like, there is no such thing for your body as losing 100 pounds. It's just not even possible. There's only the choice that's in front of me right now. So like, the goal to lose 100 pounds like fails more often than it works, mostly because it's really not possible for your body to do, versus like a goal that says, I'm going to eat in alignment with what makes my body feel best, or something to that effect, where it can be more aligned with the incremental steps that you'll actually have to take to make any kind of change. And these are the 1 degree turns. So it's like, for example, back when I was at the beginning of my weight loss journey, it wasn't even about the weight loss so much as it was truly about, I don't feel good. I don't feel good like this. I want to feel better. And so I looked around at like, what are the biggest culprits that are most likely making me feel bad? And, you know, the 4 bags of gummy bears every week, yeah, that probably wasn't helping a whole lot. That sugar was not my best friend. And so the incremental change that I made was not to cut out gummy bears. That felt impossible at the time. It was to buy cherries instead. And when I would normally want the gummy bears, I would eat the cherries and have as many cherries as I want. And that satisfied the sweet craving enough to get me through like the hardest part of like withdrawing from sugar. And those are like, that's what I'm talking about, like a 1 degree turn, like, just not, I'm going to lose 100 pounds, but I'm going to make this substitution so I'm not eating gummy bears anymore. Like, that's a goal that you can really actually accomplish. You know, there's a solution to that goal. To lose 100 pounds, that's a series of millions of choices that are going to have to get strung together in a particular order. Like, it's just not even possible for us to comprehend like that level of a big goal or a big change. And so 1 degree, like 1%, what would it look like to do 1% closer to what would help your body feel better? Or like, this is kind of her takeaway as far as like integrity and the way of integrity. She's not necessarily like coming from a moral place so much as like an engineering kind of place, which I absolutely love. She says, like, you know, kind of like from an airplane's perspective, like structural integrity, there are millions of parts to an airplane. And if even one of them is a little wobbly or out of place or whatever, then there is a risk that the entire structure is not going to be sound, and that there is potential for danger or crash or something like that, some kind of devastating malfunction. And the same is true for us, that if we are not aligned, body, heart, mind, soul, if there's part of us that is answering to something that is not just our own internal flow of energy, that's when one of those pieces gets out of place, and there are bound to be devastating failures. And so she says, like, some of the ways to recognize if you're out of integrity, meaning like you're disconnected from your true nature in favor of satisfying the cultural expectations of you. So a good example of this would be, like, for me, for example, if I had gotten married instead of canceling my wedding, that would have been a really good example of the only reason I would have gotten married at that point was because I thought I had to, because I said I would. And if that's the only reason, that's why I canceled, because I don't want to do this. And so I would rather live through the chaos and the unknown of what it's going to be like to cancel my wedding and tell everybody in my whole life that that's what's happening, instead of going through with this thing that the only reason I would be doing it is because society says, like, you have to keep your word. Well, am I going to, like, be cool with society, or am I going to be cool with myself? And that was absolutely, like, one of the best things I ever did for myself, was being true to my true nature instead of the culture. Let me see. Ooh, yeah. So these are the statements that she says, like, if these are happening in your world, and to the degree that they're happening in your world, this is kind of the sign that you're out of integrity, which usually feels eventually like you are lost. Like, I'm stuck, I'm lost, I don't know what to do next. And that's pretty much a surefire sign that, because you're trying to live according to a recipe outside of yourself instead of listening to what comes naturally to you. But that these statements may be, like, to the level that they feel like relaxing, or like giving you permission to be more free. These are like literal steps that you can take to, like, come back into integrity. And the reason I love this list is because it sounds very opposite to how, like, new age spirituality teaches you to talk, like, in glowing terms and like positive affirmations and whatever. It's like the things on this list don't sound like that. So yeah, I'm gonna go slow. So if you want to try it out loud, feel free. Obviously you don't have to. But like I tried all of these out loud, and some of them felt like I don't feel that way. Like, that just doesn't like ring anything inside of me. And then some of them felt like, oh God, it felt really freeing to admit some of these things. So, try it out loud if you want. Okay, the first one. My life is not perfect. I don't like the way things are going. I don't feel good. I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm scared. I'm not at peace. I can't find my people. I'm not sure where to go. I don't know what to do. I need help. Several of those for me felt like, not that I know how to fix it, but even just admitting that it's true was like a shift all by itself. And that's what she says about, like, the way that we take ourselves out of integrity is through dishonesty. And dishonesty doesn't have to look like you creating some, Dr. Evil type plan to deceive and hurt other people. Dishonesty is as simple as somebody asking you, "Hey, how you doing today?" And you say, "I'm fine." And on the inside, you're dying. You just lied. You said, "I'm fine," and you're not. And so, like, how often do we lie? How often do we lie to protect ourselves? How often do we lie to keep the peace with other people? How often do we lie by omission, by just making sure to not let somebody know that I definitely disagree with what you're saying? Like, we just let them believe that we're on the same page. Like, that's not harming anybody. I mean, maybe it is, maybe it's not. Maybe nothing is universal absolute truth. So everything depends. But when I know in the past, when I have done that, when I have, said I'm fine when I'm clearly not, that there are probably things that I could say that still protect me, that still don't give away all my life secrets, like you don't have to like be fully transparent with anybody. You don't owe anybody that. But there are probably things that I could say instead of I'm fine that would be a lot more honest and still respect my boundaries and their boundaries. Um, some examples. I have some thoughts. How you doing today? Do you really want to know? That's number one. Because that one is like, I'll give you the answer. I'll tell you the truth. I truly will. But do you actually want to know if I'm okay today, how I'm doing today? And most people are throwing that question around. They don't even want to know. They just are like, it's small talk. It's like a passing thought that they say when they're feeling socially awkward is how you doing today? So if you're prepared to be honest, do you really want to know? And give them a chance to be like, yeah, I do. I would love to know how are you today? And now you're in a real conversation. Easy peasy. If you don't want to be honest, if you don't want to, like, you're not going to tell them the story. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to tell you anything about how I feel right now. And you're asking me how I'm feeling, but I'm not going to lie. Okay, so what does that sound like? Maybe it sounds like I've been better. It's not the best day I've ever had. Like, what if you admitted that? What if you just said, like, I've got a lot on my mind. How's that feel? Could you say that? Like, does that feel like that 1% category of, like, you don't have to tell them anything you weren't going to tell them. You just need to not hide how you're really feeling. That when you do that, like, that is where rejection comes from. That's what self-rejection is, the only real rejection that ever happens, where we deny our own pain and suffering. We want to, like, do the thing where we jump to the positive and jump into the vortex, and get back in the vortex and, like, feel better and, get back up on the positive, the high flying disc, and, like, the positive end of the spectrum. But, like, any amount of time that we spend feeling anything at all, having emotion, having feelings or sensation in our body, whether they feel good or feel bad, is letting us know that our guidance system inside of ourselves is working perfectly.